Whether you are prepping for a massive, high-stakes meeting or trying to clear away that really stubborn afternoon brain fog, or you are just insanely curious about the biological mechanics driving your own body, you are in the right place. We are talking directly to you today.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, your brain controls absolutely everything you do.
Right. It dictates your working memory, how you maintain prolonged focus when you're, deep in a study session or a big project.
And it actively regulates the neurochemistry that determines how resilient or focused you feel on any given day.
Yeah, and in a world of constant information overload, we are endlessly bombarded with a million different biohacking trends and wellness shortcuts.
Oh, totally. Which is why taking the time to understand the actual biological mechanisms, the genuine why behind what we consume, helps us completely cut through that noise. It shifts the conversation from fad diets to, well, structural neuroscience.
And to help us do that, we are looking at a really fascinating guide today called the Mindful Menu, 10 Essential Foods of Brain Health.
It's a fantastic source.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is not to just sit here and read off a grocery list. We want to understand how these specific ingredients act as the literal physical building blocks for your cognitive output. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because we often think of food just as fuel for the stomach, right? Like putting premium gas in a car so the engine runs.
Right, the fuel analogy.
Yeah. But based on our source material today, food is doing a lot more heavy lifting. It is actually providing the hardware and software updates for the brain itself.
The foods we eat every single day have a measurable clinical impact on how sharp and energized our brains are. When we evaluate cognitive function, we have to evaluate the physical structure of the brain first.
The actual architecture.
Exactly. You cannot expect optimal high-level cognitive output if the physical infrastructure of the brain is fundamentally compromised or, lacking the right raw materials.
So let's start right there with what we can call the blueprint. Building and defending the physical brain.
I like that.
If you think about your brain like a massive, complex skyscraper, you cannot build it out of wet cardboard and expect it to hold up to the elements. You need steel. You need concrete.
And according to the Mindful Menu, the foundational structural material for your brain comes from fatty fish. So salmon, trout, sardines.
And their superpower is, of course, omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah.
But exactly how these fats operate is where the real story is. Because it's like a construction site that can't manufacture its own steel beams. You have
to have them delivered. The biological reality is that your body cannot synthesize these essential fats endogenously.
Meaning we literally can't make them ourselves.
Right. They must be imported through your diet. Once imported, the brain utilizes these omega-3s to physically construct and maintain brain cell membranes.
So they are building the actual walls of the cells.
Yes, but rather than just acting as a static wall, a healthy, lipid-rich membrane improves the communication between brain cells and actively modulates neuroinflammation.
Which is huge for cognitive performance.
It is. The text points out a really compelling correlation here. Clinical studies consistently show that individuals who incorporate fatty fish into their regular diet score significantly better on standardized memory and thinking tests.
Now, I know there are people listening who might follow a plant-based diet or just generally avoid fish.
Sure, absolutely.
The source provides some excellent, highly viable alternatives. You are not locked out of getting these structural upgrades. You can source those omega-3s from flax seeds, chia seeds, or walnuts.
Building on that, nuts in general represent a fantastic structural brain food. The guide specifically highlights walnuts, almonds, cashews, and hazelnuts.
They bring a lot to the table, right?
They do. These provide a robust lipid profile, but they also introduce potent antioxidants and vitamin E into your system.
And the text makes a big point about vitamin E.
Yes, because that vitamin E is particularly significant in the literature. It is strongly linked to a slower rate of cognitive decline as we age, likely due to its protective properties within those very lipid membranes we just discussed.
Okay, so we have the walls built. We have the healthy fats laying down the structural foundation of the cell. But once a building is up, it immediately faces environmental degradation. Wind, rain, erosion.
The wear and tear of just existing.
Exactly. In the brain, that environmental damage is called oxidative stress. If I am visualizing this, oxidative stress is basically like rust forming on the machinery inside your head. It is physically degrading the equipment over time.
That rust analogy is highly applicable, but we can take it a step further into the neurology. That rust is oxidative stress actively degrading the myelin sheath around your nerves.
Which is like the insulation on the wiring.
Precisely. And when that degrades, it physically slows down the electrical impulses in your brain. To prevent that degradation, our brains require a specialized defense force. That is where dietary antioxidants come into play.
And the mindful menu gives us a great lineup for this antioxidant shield. Blueberries, broccoli, and oranges.
Let's look at blueberries first.
They are tiny, but they are absolutely packed with flavonoids.
Flavonoids are critical here because they actively neutralize the compounds causing that cellular wear and tear. They protect the integrity of the neural pathways.
So they are stopping the rust before it forms.
Exactly. The text notes that by shielding the brain's architecture in this way, the flavonoids in blueberries may actually improve your working memory. They aren't just defending, they are optimizing the existing structure.
The source offers a really simple integration tip for you listening. Toss a handful of blueberries into your morning oatmeal or blend them into a protein smoothie. They are sweet and they are actively protecting your brain hardware.
It's an easy win.
But we have to look at the green vegetables too. Broccoli is heavily featured in the guide as a major defensive player.
Broccoli is a nutritional powerhouse for the nervous system. It is heavily loaded with vitamin K.
Which does what exactly?
Vitamin K plays a direct role in synthesizing sphingolipids.
Okay, sphingolipids.
It's a type of fat that is densely packed into brain cells. So vitamin K is actively supporting that structural integrity while potentially improving overall cognitive function. Furthermore, broccoli delivers a high concentration of compounds that combat neuroinflammation.
I love the quick culinary idea the source gives for broccoli.
Yeah.
Just steam it lightly to preserve all those vital nutrients, or roast it with a little olive oil and a pinch of salt. It does not have to be a complicated recipe to be biologically effective.
Not at all. Simple is often better for nutrient retention.
And rounding out our shield, we have oranges.
Oranges bring a massive dose of vitamin C to the table. From a neurological perspective, vitamin C is essential for neutralizing free radicals before they can initiate that oxidative cascade.
Meaning it stops the chain reaction of damage.
Yes. By actively halting that cellular damage, the vitamin C in oranges protects your neurons and is considered essential in preventing age-related mental decline.
Okay, to recap our blueprint so far, we are building the walls with omega-3s from fish or nuts, and we are painting on a thick coat of rust-proofing with the antioxidants from blueberries, broccoli, and the vitamin C from oranges.
We've got a solid, well-defended physical structure.
But a building is just a building until you wire it up with electricity and internet. You need the individual rooms to be able to communicate with each other seamlessly. Here's where it gets really interesting.
I agree.
Because the brain isn't just a static structure. It is a massive, incredibly fast network where billions of cells are constantly transmitting data.
And the speed and efficiency of that cellular communication directly dictate our ability to learn, to retrieve memories, and to execute complex tasks. If the network goes down or if the signal degrades, cognitive performance drops immediately.
It's like having a top-of-the-line computer with a terrible Wi-Fi connection.
Exactly. The hardware is fine, but the communication is bottlenecked. The foods that upgrade this communication network are quite surprising when you look at their specific mechanisms.
Because the first one on the list for network communication is just a basic, everyday breakfast staple. Eggs.
Yep, eggs.
We usually just think of eggs as cheap, accessible protein, but the source reveals they're actually a brain communication powerhouse.
The metabolic pathway here is fascinating. Eggs are a dense source of a nutrient called choline.
Choline.
Yes, and your brain utilizes that choline as a direct precursor to synthesize acetylcholine.
And acetylcholine is a big deal.
A massive deal. Acetylcholine is a vital neurotransmitter, but it doesn't just drive memory. It is the chemical messenger heavily responsible for sustained attention and neuroplasticity.
which is the brain's ability to adapt and rewire itself in response to new information.
Exactly.
So by eating eggs, you are literally giving your brain the raw materials it needs to manufacture the chemical signals that let your cells adapt and talk to each other. It's like upgrading your brain's Wi-Fi router to handle more bandwidth.
That's a great way to put it.
And the second food in our network upgrade category might be even more unexpected: pumpkin seeds.
Yes, the tiny powerhouses.
The guide literally calls them that. The tip here is to keep a small jar of them on your desk to snack on daily. But I have to ask, is a handful of seeds really moving the needle? Or is this just a microscopic drop in the bucket?
What's fascinating here is how effectively such a small volume of seeds covers almost the entire spectrum of essential minerals required for the brain's complex electrical signaling.
Really? Just in a handful?
Just in a handful. The text provides specific breakdown of this mineral density. First, you have magnesium, which fundamentally supports learning and memory by regulating the ion channels in your brain cells.
Okay, so that's the memory storage piece.
Right. Then you have zinc, which is heavily concentrated in the brain and actively boosts nerve signaling and transmission.
That is incredible. Magnesium is laying down the memory storage, and zinc is amplifying the signal strength.
And the profile continues. Pumpkin seeds also deliver copper, which the brain relies on to synthesize neurotransmitters and maintain overall communication pathways.
And there's iron in there too, right?
Yes, alongside iron, which is necessary for oxygenating the brain and ensuring proper cognitive function. It is a highly concentrated, bioavailable dose of the exact minerals your brain's network requires to fire efficiently.
It really makes you rethink your mid-morning snack.
Yeah.
A handful of pumpkin seeds isn't just holding you over until lunch. It is a direct mineral deposit into your central nervous system.
A very high-yield deposit.
So we've built the structural foundation, we've shielded it from oxidative rust, and we've upgraded the network bandwidth so the cells can talk to each other clearly. Now I want to shift to the third part of our deep dive, the enhancers.
This is a crucial section.
This is all about mood, focus, and direct, immediate access to the brain. Because for you, the listener, avoiding burnout, maintaining your focus during a long workday, and keeping a positive, regulated mood are likely your top daily priorities.
This is where we examine dietary inputs that have a rapid, noticeable impact on those daily functional states, primarily by altering the neurochemical environment.
And the first enhancer is turmeric. It is that bright golden spice common in curries and global cuisine. But it's not just a flavor profile, it is a serious cognitive enhancer.
The text highlights a highly critical biological mechanism regarding turmeric. It contains an active compound called curcumin. What makes curcumin exceptional is its ability to physically cross the blood-brain barrier.
Wait, I've read that getting curcumin to actually absorb into the bloodstream, let alone the brain, is notoriously difficult.
It is extremely difficult.
The source gives a listener tip to make a golden milk drink, but says you always need to add a pinch of black pepper. Is a pinch of black pepper actually enough to reach clinical levels in the brain, or is that just a culinary trick?
It is entirely grounded in the pharmacology. Black pepper contains piperine. Piperine actively inhibits specific digestive enzymes in the liver that would normally break down the curcumin before it could be utilized.
Oh, so it acts like a biochemical bodyguard.
Exactly. By inhibiting those enzymes, even a small amount of black pepper dramatically increases the bioavailability of curcumin. Because curcumin is highly lipophilic, once it is circulating in the blood, it can successfully permeate the blood-brain barrier.
Which is incredibly rare for dietary compounds.
Very rare.
That is a massive biological loophole. It is gaining direct access to the VIP section of the brain.
And because it has this direct access, curcumin can aggressively modulate neuroinflammation from the inside. The source notes that this direct intervention has been linked to improved working memory and, remarkably, it may even reduce the severity of depression symptoms by altering the brain's inflammatory response.
That is powerful stuff. Now, let's look at an enhancer that is going to make a lot of people happy. Dark chocolate. Because optimizing your brain doesn't have to be entirely utilitarian.
It doesn't, but the text sets strict parameters. To harness the cognitive benefits, it must be dark chocolate with a minimum of 70% cocoa.
So the super sweet milk chocolate is completely off the table.
Completely off the table.
We need the intense, bitter, 70% dark chocolate. What is happening biologically with that higher percentage?
That high cocoa concentration provides a dense supply of flavonoids, caffeine, and antioxidants. We discussed flavonoids earlier regarding the structural defense of blueberries.
Right, the rust proofing.
Here in dark chocolate, they serve an additional physiological function. They act as vasodilators, actively improving blood flow directly to the brain.
Better blood flow means more oxygen and a faster delivery system for all the nutrients we've been discussing today.
The clinical data strongly supports that. That improved cerebral blood flow can actively enhance memory retention and executive thinking skills.
And what about the mood aspect?
Concurrently, the naturally occurring caffeine and antioxidants in the dark chocolate act as a potent mood booster. The text recommends restricting intake to just 1 or 2 squares a day to secure these cognitive benefits without the metabolic drawbacks of excess sugar.
1 or 2 squares for optimized blood flow and a better mood. I think everyone can get on board with that protocol.
I would agree.
Finally, let's look at focus. We are all intimately familiar with that feeling around 2 or 3 p.m. The afternoon slump hits, your executive function drops, and you reach for a massive cup of coffee to force your nervous system to stay awake.
A very common cycle.
But the mindful menu suggests an alternative enhancer here, green tea. I actually tried this exact protocol last week. I swapped my 2 p.m. espresso for green tea because I was getting those awful shaky caffeine jitters. And the effect the source talks about is completely real. I felt totally focused, but my heart wasn't beating out of my chest.
Your experience perfectly mirrors the biochemical mechanism the source outlines. Green tea provides what the guide calls a perfect balance.
A perfect balance of what?
It contains caffeine, which binds to adenosine receptors to provide the alertness and sharpened focus you need for deep work. However, it also contains a unique amino acid called L-theanine.
How does the L-theanine interact with the caffeine to kill the jitters?
L-theanine directly promotes alpha brainwave activity. This induces a state of calm, relaxed alertness without any accompanying drowsiness. It effectively smooths out the harsh edges of the caffeine spike.
So you get the lift without the crash.
Exactly. It is a profound example of how the specific chemical makeup of a botanical can intricately tune our cognitive state, optimizing alertness while suppressing anxiety.
Okay, so we've covered the 10 essential foods. We have the structural blueprint from the omega-3s in fish and nuts. We have the antioxidant shields from the flavonoids and vitamins in blueberries, broccoli, and oranges.
We've upgraded the network bandwidth with the choline from eggs and the dense mineral profile of pumpkin seeds.
And we've enhanced our mood and daily focus with the curcumin in turmeric, the vasodilators in dark chocolate, and the L-theanine in green tea. So what does this all mean? How are you supposed to take this dense nutritional data and actually execute it without feeling completely overwhelmed?
The overarching philosophy of the text is that consistency is far more important than intensity. You do not need to overhaul your entire dietary regimen and try to force all 10 of these foods into your meals today.
Right, because that approach almost always leads to burnout.
It does. The objective is to start incredibly small. Simply pick 1 or 2 of these foods to incorporate into your existing routine. Swap that afternoon coffee for green tea, or throw a handful of walnuts into your breakfast. Gradually expand that integration over time.
It is about making small, sustainable software updates in the background, rather than trying to wipe the whole hard drive and rebuild your life from scratch.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we must acknowledge that diet is just one piece of the broader neurological puzzle. The guide explicitly notes that while these specific ingredients are incredibly powerful modulators of brain health, they do not operate in a vacuum.
It's a holistic system.
Absolutely. Uninterrupted sleep, rigorous exercise, and proactive stress management are equally critical components of maintaining a sharp, resilient brain. Adding these 10 foods is an excellent, scientifically backed first step. but it must be integrated into a broader lifestyle of preventative maintenance.
You can't just eat a piece of 70% dark chocolate and expect to biohack your way out of a terrible night of sleep or chronic unmanaged stress. The foods are the building blocks, but you still have to manage the whole machine.
When we look back closely at the specific mechanisms we've unpacked today, it raises a truly profound question. We learned that the curcumin in turmeric can physically cross the blood-brain barrier to directly alter the brain's internal environment and modulate mood.
Right, the VIP access.
And we learned that the choline in eggs provides the literal raw materials for our brain to manufacture the specific neurotransmitters that dictate how our cells adapt and communicate.
Yeah, the acetylcholine.
So, if the specific compounds in the seemingly mundane foods we eat can directly cross-secure biological borders to alter our neurochemistry and build our physical brain structure, does that mean our everyday diet is silently, constantly shaping our actual personalities and the very nature of our thoughts?
Wow. That is an incredibly heavy thing to think about the next time you were standing in the grocery aisle. Are you just buying lunch, or are you buying the literal raw materials for your next great idea? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you walk away feeling a little more empowered about the biological choices you make for your mind. Keep exploring, keep nourishing your brain, and we will see you next time. Stay sharp.